Hey friends, Rick from BCW here with the FAB Breakdown. And in this week's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Boltyn with Raydn. Now, before we get into the deck tech, I did want to give a special congratulations to Patrick. Patrick won the Retweet to Win contest that I did for 4 of the original hero decks from WTR. That giveaway was done through Twitter, and that giveaway was done in honor of the Farewell Welcome to Wraith events that will be taking place later this month. Make sure, if you're not following me on Twitter, to go ahead and give me a follow. I do enjoy doing those types of giveaways and have many more planned for this upcoming year. So before we get into the deck tech, one other thing. Last video we did talk about the banned and errata card from Flesh and Blood that Legend Story Studios put out last week. Those bannings were Plunder Run, Ball Lightning, and the errata was to Briar. So this deck was originally something I was going to do last week, and right about the time I was getting ready to record the video, we saw the banning announcement, which meant that I had to stop what I was doing, reevaluate the deck, made a few changes to it based on the changes that I'm expecting to see in the meta. This is a great time for Flesh and Blood, in my opinion, because we have a wide open class constructed meta. We have a couple of weeks before Everfest comes out. In fact, at the end of this month, we're going to start getting the spoilers for Everfest. Everfest does launch February 4th, and we're going to get a bunch of new cards. So everything is subject to change. But we still have this window here in January with a very nice armory kit that Legend Story Studios put out for the local stores. It does have one of the young cold foil heroes and Valda Bright Axe in it. And if you're trying to win that, you're going to need to play class constructed, blitz, or sealed. And all of those formats are really going to shift or change. Maybe not sealed as much, but the constructed formats are going to change when Everfest comes out. So I see a lot of people talking negative about a dead time in the game, that there's no reason to brew. But I challenge you that there is a reason to brew. There is a reason to try new heroes. And that is, right now you can take known archetypes, you can take known decks and run them yourself. Give it a try, put a change on it. Try right now because the meta is wide open. And so that's what I've done with Boltyn. When I originally started, I thought Boltyn will be easy. He's a warrior. He's got a limited card pool because of being the light warrior. He's trying to play the game different than Dorinthia is. And it's just going to be easy. Cut, paste, copy, go. But it wasn't. There was a lot more to Boltyn, and there's a lot more that you need to learn about each and every individual hero. And with the meta being open, it's a good time to experiment. It's a good time to try a deck you've always wanted to try, but have never done because you were afraid it wasn't good enough in the local meta, or you were afraid that it was something that was underpowered. The enjoyment out of playing collectible card games is trying different things, learning different things. I suffer from hero ADD, if you will. Not that I'm making fun of ADD, the fact that I cannot decide on a permanent, oh, this is my hero, this is my main, because I want to play them all. It's kind of just, I have to play them all because they all do something a little bit different or a little bit better or have their own unique struggles. And I enjoy that deep dive. So I have played this deck a couple of times. I've put it through a few paces. I found some things that worked. I have a little bit of a sideboard guide on how I'm planning on attacking certain decks, but the meta is wide open. I haven't had a chance to play it a ton. I do plan on playing this at a couple of local events between now and Everfest's launch. So maybe I will learn more. Maybe I'll have to do an update to this video. In the description of this video, I've put a link to the deck list through FABDB, a phenomenal website. If you're not using FABDB, please check them out. Use it. It's phenomenal. The services they provide, the access to build decks on your mobile device or on your computer, phenomenal. You can look at cards available. It's really a great tool to use and become comfortable with. But I've put a lot of hours into this, and I really just want to share what I've learned about Boltyn. All right, so before we get into the top-down view of the deck tech, I did want to go ahead and touch base briefly on what the charge mechanic is. This is a mechanic that Boltyn uses on some of his cards as well as his hero ability, and I just want to give you a visual understanding of it. It's basically when a card says you're allowed to charge, you may take a card from your hand and put it into your soul, which is a designated area in your play space. You want to communicate that with your opponent. This is my soul. Just to help kind of keep track of how many cards you have in your soul and if you've charged this turn or not. Many of his cards will allow you to charge. Some of his cards have benefits if you have charged, and his own hero ability has the charge mechanic in part of it. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is his ability is split into two, one of them tied to charging, one of them is not tied to charging, and we'll talk about that right now. Let's go top down. Okay, so here we are with the Boltyn hero card. This is the adult hero version, 4 intellect, 40 health, and the two different abilities, like we talked about. The first ability, if you've charged this turn, attacks you control have +1 power while defended by an attack action card. So essentially, if your opponent blocks one of your attacks, whether it's with your weapon or with an attack action card, that's going to gain +1 power. Whether they block with 1, 2, 4 attack action card, it only gets the +1 once, but it does increase the attack power by 1. The second ability is an attack reaction. You may banish a card from Boltyn's soul. Target attack with power greater than base power gains go again. So these abilities really work well together. They really kind of set the tone for what Boltyn is wanting to do and how we have constructed this deck. So let's go ahead and take a look at the equipment. All right, for weapons, we're using the Raydn Duskbane. Once per turn action, 0 cost attack. If you have charged this turn, Raydn gains +3 attack power and it has a base of 0. So this works great with Boltyn's second ability of being able to give this attack go again if you've charged this turn by banishing a card, because its printed power is 0. So Raydn is going to become 3 for 0. Again, if you've charged this turn and it is coming in for 3 and they block with an attack action, it will trigger the first part of the ability, which will give it +1 as well. So it's coming in for 3 or 4. It's a great attack. It's great with this build, in my opinion. The other build of Raydn uses sabers, which is a completely different deck tech, trying to set up a combo, if you will, using a card we're going to show in this deck in a little bit. For the head slot, we're going to use the Arcanite Skull Cap. Primarily, Boltyn is going to be taking a lot of damage. He doesn't really want to block again. He's going to be very hand hungry with the way this deck is built, wanting to block with 1, maybe 2 cards each turn, so we can go ahead and attack and charge. So you're probably going to have less life than your opponent, which means you're going to be able to get a 2 block out of this and then a 1 block out of it. The Arcane Barrier can be relevant if you're on lower life and you're going up against somebody doing a lot of arcane damage. Next up, for the chest, we're going to be using the Fendel Spring Tunic. Again, the Spring Tunic is going to generate you 1 resource every 3 turns. Super important, it does have a block 1, but is blade break, so when you block with it to prevent 1 damage, you're going to lose the tunic. Still, this is the best chest piece to run in the Raydn build, and this is where we start seeing a deviation from what the Saber build wants. The Saber build is going to want to use the Courage of Bladehold because it's really trying to maximize 1 turn and being able to attack with the Centauri Sabers multiple times. For the hands, I choose to use the Braveforge Bracers. This is really just for the block 2, block 1. This is a battle-worn piece of equipment. It does have an ability, once per turn action, you may pay 1 resource your next weapon attack. This turn gains +1 power. Activate this ability only if a weapon you control has hit this turn and it has go again. Again, Boltyn wants to save all of his cards for blocking, and he wants to be able to block with the equipment and efficiently from his hand. And finally, for the normal setup, we're going to be using the Snapdragon Scalers. the Snapdragon scalers are going to be the best foot option. We're going to be able to give go again to an attack action card with a cost of 1 or less, which is going to be most of the attack actions in the deck. And we don't have to banish a card from Soul, or we don't have to have a higher base attack power to give it go again. Once per game effect, because you're going to destroy the Snapdragons. Other than that, I am also running 2 pieces of Null Rune. Right now, I'm using the gloves and the boots, just because of how important the tunic is, and I really like the block potential out of the Arcanite Skullcap. Normally in the couple of matches against Runeblade that I've played against, I did bring in the boots over the Snapdragon scalers, valuing the block damage potential from the bracers over bringing in the gloves, specifically into a Briar or into a Viscerai. There are going to be times where you're going to want 2 Arcane Barrier. If that's the case, you're going to want to replace both the Brave Forge bracers and the Snapdragon scalers with the 2 pieces of Null Rune. It's really your preference. Again, I'm still flushing this out, but this is what my plan is and how I have attacked it so far. So with all of that, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the attack action cards. All right, so here are the basic attack action cards that I'm going to be using to charge Boltyn Soul with. There are 30 of them in the main deck, and right now we're only talking about the main deck. I do have a couple more in my sideboard plan, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Right now I'm running all 9 Take Flights and all 9 Bolt of Courage. I'm running 3 yellow and 3 red Express Lightning, the 3 red Engulfing Light, and 3 V for the Vanguard. Take Flight is going to be your most important charge card that you can play. It does cost 1. The reds come in for 4, the yellows come in for 3, the blues come in for 2. It allows you to charge your soul when you attack with it, and it has go again if you have charged this turn. So very important in getting multiple attacks in one turn. So you can attack with the Take Flight, charge your soul, and then come in with the Raydn for 3 additional, 2 separate attacks. Really, it applies great pressure. Again, if your opponent is blocking with an attack action card, it's gaining +1 attack power. So really great card. Next up, we have the Bolt of Courage. Bolt of Courage is the best on-hit effect, in my opinion. So this costs 0. It comes in for 3 at the red, it comes in for 2 at yellow, and 1 at blue. It allows you to charge your soul, and if you have charged this turn, and if this card hits, you get to draw a card. So card draw in Flesh and Blood, very powerful. This is really your only draw mechanic in the deck. And most decks were only running 6. They were running the reds and the yellows. I've added in the blue predominantly for Frostbite, as well as wanting to hit a critical mass of 30 charge cards. Because if you're not charging in a turn, you're really not doing anything. Your weapon doesn't attack for anything. A lot of your other cards are turned off. So it's really important, in my opinion, to have 50% of the deck have the ability to charge your hero's soul. Next up, we have the Express Lightning. Now, the Express Lightning is a 0 for 4 on the red and a 0 for 3 on the yellow. It does allow you to charge. So again, it's a 0 cost attack action card, allows you to charge your soul, but it does not have an on-hit effect. You're swapping out an on-hit effect for more damage. Then we have the Engulfing Light. I'm only playing the red in the main deck for this. The Engulfing Light does have an on-hit effect of if this card hits, it can go to your soul. It is a 0 for 3, and it does allow you to charge your soul. So again, very important part of the mechanic of Boltyn is being able to charge your soul, and Engulfing Light allows you to do that. All right, now V for the Vanguard, a very important card for Boltyn. It is a Boltyn specialization. As an additional cost to playing V for the Vanguard, you may charge your hero's soul any number of times. So you can put any number of cards from your hands into your hero's soul. Attacks you control this combat chain gain +1 for each light card charged this way. So this card does care about what cards you're charging your soul with. And for each light card, your attacks are getting +1. So that's not just your attack action cards. The Raydn will also gain +1 if it's in this combat chain. It does cost 1, it comes in for 3. If you charge a light card, it's coming in for 4. You can banish the card and then you can attack with the Raydn. The Raydn would then attack for 4 because of the V for the Vanguard, as long as it was still within the same chain. So these are the 30 charge cards that I'm running in the deck. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at some of the other attack action cards that I'm running in the deck that are not charge cards. All right, so for cards that are not charge cards, I only have 9 in the main deck. I'm running 3 Battlefield Blitz Red, 3 Valiant Thrust Red, and 3 Celestial Cataclysms. The first two, the Battlefield Blitz and the Valiant Thrust, have additional benefit if you have charged this turn. They do both cost 1. The Battlefield is a 1 for 5, but if you've charged this turn, Battlefield Blitz gains go again. It's a great way to continue applying pressure. It's past the break point of 4 for blocking, so really phenomenal card for what Boltyn is trying to do. Valiant Thrust is a 1 for 4. If you've charged this turn, Valiant Thrust gains +3 power. So again, it's going to become a 1 for 7. It's a great break point, 1 for 4 or 1 for 7. And all you have to do is charge. So this is a great card to play after you've played a card and charged. So if you play a card that costs 0, you charge a card, and let's say you have a resource available from the Tunic, you'd want to set up one of these cards to be that next attack, or attack with Raydn and then attack with one of these. You can put a lot of pressure on your opponent, either to block with attack action cards, increasing the power of the attack, potentially bleeding some damage through, or they're just going to take a lot of damage trying to not block. So that is where I'm at with those two cards. I love them. Celestial Cataclysm is a little bit of a niche card. It's a 0 for 7, but the cost on this is you have to banish 3 cards from your soul, and it does have go again. So this is a great card. It's very powerful to attack with. I find that I use this after I've done a long chain of attacks. So I've set it up. I've got multiple cards in my soul. It's probably coming after a V turn. I'm able to banish the 3 cards and hopefully leave some cards in soul. This is really something I'm looking to try and close the game out with, or win the game with, by pushing more damage through. It does have go again, so I'm able to save the Raydn as an attack after this because Raydn doesn't have a cost. And as long as I have charged this turn before I played Celestial Cataclysm, you know, I can pump a lot of damage that turn. A lot of times this is blocking, it's going into the soul, but the 1 or 2 that you get off in the game really applies phenomenal pressure. And I really find this going well against decks that are running a lot of defense reaction cards, because I can pitch these early on, and when I get to the second cycle of the deck, I normally have a big soul because they're blocking well, they're using defense reactions. I'm not able to give my attacks go again, but I'm able to build up a soul, and then I can just come in with Celestial Cataclysms. They have go again, so I don't have to worry about trying to give them go again, and they're coming in for big damage. So that's the core attack action cards in the deck. There are 39. Let's go ahead and take a look at the non-attack action card that I play in the deck. For the non-attack action card in the main deck, I'm only running Lumina Ascension as a non-attack action. Lumina Ascension costs 0. Again, another Boltyn specialization. This card has a lot of text on it, but it's relatively simple. Until the end of turn, weapons you control gain +1, and if they hit, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a light card, put it into your hero soul, gain 1 life. Otherwise, put it on the bottom of your deck. If you have charged this turn, you may attack an additional time with each weapon you control. So this is going to allow Raydn to attack more than once. Raydn costs 0. So if I'm able to set up the Lumina Ascension, I've played a card, I've charged, I'm playing a Lumina, I'm able to attack with Raydn twice. It's going to have a base attack of 4 because of the +1 from this, the +3 from having charged. And if it hits, I get to take the top card of my deck, reveal it. If it's a light card, it goes into my soul. You know, it's phenomenal. You do need to give the Raydn go again on the first attack after the Lumina Ascension. And this is where the Saber list is different. The Saber's list, the Centauri Saber build, is trying to build up a couple Lumina Ascensions and then be able to attack with each Saber multiple times in one turn, which is where the Courage of Bravehold chess piece comes in, and they're really just trying to set up this one big turn. They're going to take a lot of damage in order to try and pump out a huge swing. They're going to try and take about 30 life points away from you on a go turn with 2 Lumina Ascensions. And it is a real deck. It does work. It works exceptionally well. The Raydn is just a little bit better at being consistent in the damage output throughout the entire game. The Saber build does a lot more damage and revolves around setting up this combo. So in this build, I'm using these really just to apply pressure. Maybe saving one towards the end of the game to try and close out the game, but I'm not building up for a big turn of stacking multiple of these on each other. But it is a nice way to gain life, a nice way to charge your soul. Let's move on to our attack reaction cards. All right, for our attack reaction cards, we have 6 Courageous Steel Hands and 3 Beacon of Victories. The Courageous Steel Hand is a great card. It does cost 0. It is a light warrior attack reaction. If you've charged this turn, target attack gains +3 for the red, +2 for the yellow. They block for 2. The problem is if you haven't charged, these are dead cards. They only block for 2, or you can use them for pitch. They don't have any text if you haven't charged. So that is why I have a heavy emphasis on having 30 cards that charge. These cards can help push damage through. Perfectly costed at costing 0 for +3 or 0 for +2. I like these cards, especially with the on-hit effect cards. So the cards like Engulfing Light. This is a great way to get an extra card into the soul. You attack with the Engulfing Light. You're able to use Courageous Steel Hand because you charged. They block, but they only block exactly. You're able to come up over it for 3. Now you get an extra card in your soul because of the Steel Hand. Love it. Beacon of Victory, however, is an entirely different beast. This card I absolutely love. It's a great way to close out a game. It's a great way to set up the Luminous and extend your turn. There's so much you can do with Beacon of Victory. Beacon of Victory costs 0. As an additional cost to playing Beacon of Victory, banish X cards from your hero's soul. X cannot be 0. It even says so on the card. Can't be 0. Target attack action gains +X power, X being the number of cards you banished from your soul. If you have charged this turn, search your deck for an action card with X or less cost, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So this allows you to go get your Lumina Ascension. It'll allow you to go get an attack action card that has a cost equal to or less than the number of cards you banished. Normally you're banishing 1 card with this if you're trying to set up the Lumina. So you're playing this card onto a card that you've attacked with, and you're giving it +1 damage normally to try and push through. Again, any of the attack action cards with on hit effects, this is great. Bolt of Courage, draw a card. Be able to give it go again because its attack power is now above that of the printed attack power. So you can use Boltyn's ability to give it go again. This will allow you to search out a Lumina Ascension. You can play the Lumina Ascension and attack with Raydn twice as long as you have enough cards in your soul to give it go again. There's a lot of things you can do with Beacon of Victory. I absolutely love the card. These cards right here help offset when your opponents decide not to block, which is a strategy some decks run against Boltyn. They don't want to block because if they don't block, they don't trigger the +1 attack, meaning you cannot use the second part of the ability to give the attack action go again, which is a valid strategy. If you can afford to take the hit and there's no way for them to pump it, then they can't get go again. These cards help offset that. If you have somebody doing that, try to really set up a good attack that has an on-hit effect. They don't block, you're able to pump it, it's now bigger, and you're able to give it go again with Boltyn's ability. So that's the attack reaction cards. Let's go ahead and look at the last cards in the deck, the defense reactions. All right, so here are the 2 defense reactions in the main deck. Again, our main deck is only 57 cards. We'll talk more about that here in a minute when we talk about our sideboard plans. So we're running 3 red Sink Below and we're running 3 Soul Shield. The Sink Below is an absolute phenomenal defense reaction. It's a 0 for 4, and you may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw a card. It's just a great way to filter or dig for a card. I really like these because there's times where you don't have a charge card in your hand, one of your attack action cards that can put a card from your hand into your soul. You don't have one. Block with the Sink Below, put a card on the bottom, draw it, hopefully get there, so you don't have a dead turn. The other thing people do with it is they search for Lumina Ascension. So it's a great way to filter cards trying to get to a card you need. The Soul Shield, on the other hand, is phenomenal. It does cost 2, it blocks for 6. At the end of the combat chain, put Soul Shield into your soul. This is going to be great because it's charging your hero's soul. You're going to be able to give an attack go again with Boltyn's ability if this is in your soul. Or you're able to get a buff to Beacon of Victory by being able to banish it to the Beacon of Victory. So anything that can help build the soul for Boltyn is going to be phenomenal, and this defense reaction is just that. It's phenomenal. So let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboard and talk about some of the sideboard plans. All right, so here is what I have labeled as my sideboard on the FAB deck list. I have 3 Express Lightning Blue. This is really just another charge card. I want to bring this in when I'm going above 60 cards, which I do against fatigue decks or against frost decks. This is very important because I really want to make sure I'm staying to about a 50% ratio on cards that will charge, just to make sure that I'm seeing one every turn. This card has no on-hit effect, but it's a 0 for 2 that allows me to charge, and it blocks for 3. Time Snap Potion is really here for Prism. I highly expect to see a lot of Prism come back now with the changes to Briar. Prism had a very hard time dealing with the Lightning Redline Briar build, and now I really need to respect that deck coming back. So Time Snap's there for that. Bolting Blade is a card that I will normally have 1 copy in the main deck. As long as I'm on the more aggressive slant of the deck. It's also in here for Prism because it's another 7. Steel Blade Shunt, red, 2 of, another 6 defense reaction. It costs 1 and it deals 1 damage to the attacking hero if you're defending it against a weapon. This is phenomenal to bring in against Dorinthia. It's great to bring in against Bravo, maybe even Oldhim. It just leaks a little bit of damage. You know they're going to attack with their weapon. It's a great block if you need it. So I bring these in those types of matchups. Energy Potion, again, this is really respecting the Frost and Control decks out there. This is great to have on board, meaning in play, against Frost heroes, so Oldhim or Lexi. If they're going to try and hit you with a Blizzard and take away your go again, instant, you can destroy this to have the 2 resources to pay for it. Love it. It's also a blue pitch. We'll talk a little bit more about blue pitch and packages that I put together. I'll map some out for you. Command and Conquer, another phenomenal card. Anybody who's going to have an arsenal, we're going to want to make sure we have a way to deal with it. It's something that's normally in the deck, again, when I'm on the aggressive plan. Normally, if I'm adding just 3 cards to the deck for the aggressive plan, it's the 1 Bolting Blade and 2 Command and Conquers. Can't say enough about it. It basically destroys cards in arsenal, and defense reaction cards can't be played to Command and Conquer. And Fate Foreseen is another 0 for 4 block that allows you to scry or opt 1. Let's use the right terminology, Rick. It allows you to opt 1, look at the top card, choose to keep it there, put it on the bottom of your deck. This is coming in for some of the more aggressive matchups, and we'll talk about that now. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Prism matchup. I do honestly believe that Prism is going to be one of the biggest resurgent decks coming back in after the Briar, Errata, and the bans to Plunder Run and Ball Lightning. So this is the 6 cards I'm bringing in. But wait, Rick, you said we're bringing in 3. That's right. I'm going to actually take out the 3 Sink Belows in the Prism matchup. I really don't feel that they add enough to the deck, and I'm bringing these in. This is going to put me up to a total of 7 cards that can pop the Heralds. 5 of those being a 7 power card, so the Herald of Judgment even won't negate them from being able to pop them, and the 2 Time Snap Potions. This is really what I'm looking to bring in against Prism. All right, against Ranger, specifically against the Frost Lexi deck, I'm bringing in the Blue Express Lightning, the Energy Potions, the Fate Foreseens, and the Command and Conquers. The Express Lightning is because I'm going up above my 60 cards. I'm doing that by an additional 7 cards here. And I'm doing that because I need blues to pitch for Frostbite tokens. The Energy Potions are coming in. Again, Frostbite tokens and Blizzard, being able to pay for it instantly is important. Fate Foreseen, because there's a lot of on-hit effects and dominate effects out of Ice Lexi specifically that I'm trying to prevent from hitting. So having a few more 0 for 4s is great. And the Command and Conquer, because being able to destroy the arsenal of Ice Lexi is very, very appealing. It sets them back a turn. So that's why they're in here. If I'm going up against just Ranger, if I'm going up against Azalea, I'm bringing in these 5 cards. Now it's going to put me 2 cards above. It does mess the math up just slightly on making sure that I've got 50%, but I'm close enough that I'm okay with it. If I run into a charge problem, I could see myself cutting 1, maybe 2 of the cards out of the deck. Normally that's going to be cutting like the Celestial Cataclysms to bring in the Command and Conquers. I want these in against Ranger, and I want these in for the defense reactions against some of the bigger arrow attacks. All right, so another hero that I expect to see a lot come back from is going to be Katsu. For Katsu, I'm really just going to be bringing in the Fate Foreseens. That's going to get me up to my 60. I'm going to have 9 defense reactions in the deck. I'm trying to play my game and apply pressure. I'm also looking to be able to block efficiently on the cards that I absolutely have to block and protect my life total where I can. So this is what's coming in that matchup. For the Dorinthia matchup, if Dorinthia starts to show up, this is what I speculate I would bring in against Dorinthia. It'd be the 3 Fate Foreseens and 2 Steel Blade Shunts. This is really mainly because I'm trying to prevent Dawnblade from gaining the charge or keeping a charge counter on it or growing. So also Steel Blade Shunt is phenomenal against Dorinthia. Dorinthia is typically wanting to attack with her weapon over and over again. So odds are you're going to be able to get a point of damage through with that. So that's Dorinthia. All right, against Runeblade, I'm typically looking at bringing in something akin to this. These are going to be the 3 cards I'm bringing in for blocking damage. I'm bringing in the Express Lightning as well. Blue, this is really because I'm going to go above my 60, but also blue pitch for Null Rune. is something that you're going to really want, and the deck right now only has 6 blue cards in it, so this is going to give you just a little bit more protection with the Null Rune Command and Conquer. A great way to just apply some additional damage. A lot of times they're trying to set up bigger turns with their arsenal, being able to have a 5-card hand. This is going to kind of help you either have them block more from their hand or have them give up the card in arsenal. Null Rune Boots are going to replace the Snapdragon Scalers. I'm going to have to play this a little bit slower. Against Viserai, I would also bring in the 2 energy potions just to up my blue count and up my ability to be able to pitch to Null Rune. I brought this in an Earthbriar matchup. It went well for me. I will say at one point, due to Rosetta Thorn, I thought about maybe needing the Null Rune gloves. So a little bit more testing on my part. If you're going to bring in the gloves, the Null Rune gloves, make sure that you've upped your blue count with the energy potions for sure. You do need to be able to pitch, and if you can pitch fewer cards to get more resources to try and prevent some of that damage, the better off you are in the long run. Personal opinion, seems like common sense, just stating it. So Viserai, Briar, Chain, this is kind of what I'm looking at bringing in and why. All right, and I know it sounds weird to talk about Wizard in Class Constructed, but Kano is a thing. Kano had a really good game against the Lightning Briar deck. Not sure if Kano's going to be sticking around, but this is what I would bring in against Kano. Both of the Null Rune pieces plus the Skull Cap if needed, upping my blue count by 5, so that's going to put me up to 11 blues in the deck. The Bolting Blade is really coming in. Not that I'm anticipating charging that much because I do need to keep cards in my hand, but it's a yellow pitch for some Null Rune prevention. And Command and Conquer, again, I'm trying to prevent them from having a 5-card hand by taking away their arsenal if I can. So most of the time they're just going to play out of their arsenal, something that's there, but this is the way I'm planning on attacking it. And last but not least, against our friends, the Brutes, Rhinar and Levia, I'm bringing these 5 cards in. So these will be the 3 normal. I'm going to go over by 2. I'm not bringing in the blues. I do need to try and stay streamlined. The Steel Blade Shunt may be a mistake. I don't really like having cards that I can't pay for, especially with the Intimidate, but it only has a cost of 1 off the Tunic. If I save it, that'll give me the ability to play it. And a lot of times they are blocking with 1 to 3 cards out of their hand, and then you're able to block their attack back and still deal them a point of damage. This is Fate Foreseen and Steel Blade Shunt going into the core 57 to put you up to 62 cards. All right, well, that does it for this deck tech on Sarah Boltyn, Breaker of Dawn, using the Raydn Duskbane. This deck has been a lot of fun to play. I thank everybody for suggesting it on Twitter. This was really hard because it doesn't play like most of the decks I've played. I do recommend getting a lot of reps in if you want to pick up Boltyn. I do think Boltyn is very good. I think he may be poised to do very well in the upcoming ProQuest season, depending on what comes out of Everfest. So thank you guys again so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and remember, when it comes to protecting, storing, or displaying your hobbies or collectibles, BCW has you covered.